Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome back to some Zombicide Like Death. So this is the beginning. This is. Hey everyone, this is Jason. Welcome back to some Zombicide Like Death. This is for Frozen Fortress. This is all of the Kickstarter stretch goal content. This is where we get our 70 different survivors. You can see some of them on the artwork here on the box, plus some new zombies and abominations and necromancers, stuff like that. There's going to be several videos long. I've kind of tried to break it up a little bit as themed as possible. This is going to be one video we're going to have kind of characters based off of like either real people, like homages to non like the Three Kingdoms, Chinese, Japanese, Asian culture stuff, like anime characters, or like brand new characters, which are a lot of the animal characters. We're gonna do a video that has just the Chinese characters, survivors in it, based off historical figures, because there's a lot more Chinese characters, and then we'll have a video of survivors that are the Japanese plus other mixed Asian cultures. We have some Hindu, Korean, Maya, Malay, sorry, not Mayan, Malay, and plus some other ones. So we'll have 3 different videos with survivors in there just so they don't get too terribly long. It's about 25 survivors on each one, just 23 to 25 on each video. And then we'll also do a 1 or 2 with all the zombies, depending on how long they take, and we'll kind of break them up too, kind of like one's based off Chinese culture, and then one's based off like Japanese culture, and then some of the other cultures. Just to kind of so we have a little bit of themes. This will be somewhere between 4 to 5 videos long, going through all these characters. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right in. Alright, so for this first video, for Frozen Fortress, I want to go over, like, this one we're going to go over some real people that are not based off of Japanese or Chinese or other Asian cultures, as well as like some anime characters and some created characters. The first one we'll look at is we actually got some new items. We have the Winter Grade clothing, our Kickstarter exclusive bulk items. There are 4 of them. They not take up space in inventory, grant indicated skills to survivor. These equipments form a set of their own. Survivors possessing a whole set of 4 can use all the red level skills no matter the amount of AP. So let's take a quick look at those. So we don't often get, in Kickstarters, we don't often get equipment cards. And when we do, it's just like a one-off here or there. So this is kind of neat. Plus, we have set armor, which there were some promos I went over in a different video that also had sets. They don't do these too often. They don't want you just hoarding around looking for items all the time. But these are still pretty cool. So you have the Winter Grag Furs. It says armor plus 5. It has the Horde ability. And then it has, if you have a set of full, it gets you all your red skills. So you can end up getting this very early on. But it does kind of, again, if you grab all these, it does change a little bit. So the Horde ability says you can carry up to 2 extra equipment cards that are placed near the backpack. But since these don't take up your regular equipment slots, because it does say that's one of the things that made them special, yeah, don't take up space in your inventory. Therefore, it's not like, oh, I have to choose this or choose something else. But they only give you 1 set. It would have been kind of neat if we had 4 sets at least. You got 1 for each player. But we have the Winter Grag gloves. Gives you a +1 die for combat. We have the Winter Grag hat, which gives you Born Leader, which of course lets you give another survivor a free action during your turn, and then you get to resume your turn afterwards. Great for setting up various different things. So you can have them attack and finish off a group that maybe they didn't finish. Activating an objective beforehand, maybe move out of the way so they're not in the way of the next turn. Lots of different stuff you can do there. And then the last one are the Winter Grag shoes. Give 1 free move action. So cool. So I'm not really sure why it says maybe used in backpack, because it says they don't take up any slots. So therefore, if they're just always active, then why does it matter if they can be used in your backpack or not? Not really sure on that. Alright, so we're going to jump into our first character. So this is one of our very few homage characters. So if you are familiar with Simon games, especially Zombicide, they love to do their stretch goals as having a bunch of homage characters to various fiction or movies, usually celebrities and stuff like that. And for this set, because it's all very Asian themed, they went a completely different direction. They held back on doing that. And instead, they went for more historical figures. Now, they fantasized them all a bunch, kind of like Dynasty Warriors and Romance in the Three Kingdoms. But there wasn't many off of like fictional movies or anything like that. I think part because they wanted to pay homage to all the actual culture out there of Asian culture and get some of that in there as well. But I think there was also an underlying thing of they didn't want to have any offensive stereotypes or anything like that. In a lot of American movies, when they represent Asian culture, sometimes they're not played by the proper Asian person, or even played by a white person, sometimes, or they're very stereotypical, like the Asian Fu Manchus. I think they went away with that in here. So we only got one person here that's a direct homage to a character. This is Michelle Yeoh, based off her character in everywhere, I don't remember it's everywhere, always at once. I have not seen the movie. I think she's been in lots of other stuff as well. So yeah, it's very cool that we got her. And then the homage to, or the name Rebecca there comes from the one of the community leaders of Zombicide and Seamine during this campaign. She was really active on the comic section stuff, so I think they kind of just paid homage to her that way too. So that's really cool. So yeah, this is the only character we got that's, I would say, a direct like movie character, except there's one abomination that kind of fits in that room, or zombie that fits in that way too. But yeah, really cool that we're getting that. So you could have obviously named a ton of other different characters. They could have done like a Jackie Chan character, or like Lucy Liu, or there's a lot of very famous Asian people they could have done stuff with. But I think, again, they were focused on that. Plus, like we'll see in the rest of this video, we have a lot of animal characters. They wanted to introduce more of that as a theming. Let's take a look at her miniature before we get into the rest of her card. If this wants to focus up on her, it might not. Yeah, she's very cool. She got the blade upside down, which is very neat, very interesting pose. I know a lot of people weren't really happy about the third eye on there. That might have something to do with the movie. Again, I haven't seen it, so I can't say for sure. It does look a little wonky in there. That should have been, I guess for me, I said that should have been like, they should have almost done that, almost like they do tattoos in a lot of the characters, where they don't print the tattoos on the character, and they let you do that yourself. So that would have been interesting. So I wanted to start with her for a couple reasons. She's basically overpowered, which is 100% fine. You're buying stretch goal stuff, you're allowed to have overpowered characters. I don't know why my camera feels like this is such a weird angle here. Yeah, she can hold any enchantment. But she has to choose any skill in blue, and then she has guards, which are freeze melee. So just if you, for some reason, watch the core White Death, quick refresher on guards. NPC characters that are all when you're during your turn, you can use one guard action. Spending one of your actions, you can target one zone. All guards in there get that action, so they can all move to a ranged attack or a melee attack, or occasionally other skills like they give here. So freeze melees. Freeze is also a brand new skill for White Death, which says whenever you attack that zone, whether you succeed or not, you put a freeze skeleton, a little snowflake in the space, and then during the zombie's next activation, they lose all their activations. So it doesn't matter if they had 1 or if they had 3, they don't get to do anything, and then the token goes away. If there are no zombies in the zone, it goes away, so you can't set it up as a trap for them to walk into. And after it activates, any zombie that enters the zone does not also freeze, so it just freezes that exact zone you target. But still pretty cool that you can have guards do that. Yeah, so her skill here says choose any. It says players can choose any skill from White Death or Eternal Empires for Rebecca at blue level. If the skill chosen features brackets like +1 free action, For example, players choose a corresponding keyword. So yeah, you could give her free combat action. You could give her any combat. You could give her a free move action. You could give her bloodlust melee, bloodlust range, like she has lifesaver. You could give her shove, taunt. You could give her freeze melee if you want to, or freeze range. Basically, she can do anything you want her to do at blue level, which in general makes her very overpowered. Because you kind of decide what you want her to be. Which is a really neat idea. You can give her born leader if you want. Hold your nose. Is that all you've got? Plenty of other different abilities to do. Plus some that don't appear very often. You can even give her some technically from the campaign set, like Corruption Walker or Ice Warrior, so she can fight on ice. You could give her Ironclad zombie type and make her immune to specific type of zombie right after the beginning of the game. Regeneration. One ability that does not appear at all in this entire set is Medic, which lets you heal people. You could actually make her the one healer in the entire game. So very interesting. Alright, so we keep going through. She has, in orange, one free melee action or freeze melee. So she gets freeze melee herself. Doubling up on that with choose your skill wouldn't mean anything. She has one free combat action, plus one free move action, or lifesaver. So very cool. And then, we get lifesaver. So what lifesaver does is you target a zone that has zombies and a survivor in it. You can pull the survivor from that zone to your zone. It's just a way to get a survivor out of danger, which is really fun. For some odd reason, and I mention this every time I talk about this ability, they gave you the ability to have the person being pulled out to say no, they don't want to be pulled out. And I've never understood that because it's a cooperative game. Why would I'm going to spend the ability to pull it out, and then you say no, don't do that, which wastes your ability, or you go back and you choose something else. But if they don't want you to pull them out for some reason, then you just wouldn't use that ability. So, not really sure. But yeah, very cool that we got her. Let's flip her over to the other side to see her full artwork. Alright. The next group of characters we have, there are 5 of them, aren't technically homage characters. They are actually real people, but they put them in the game. They've done this a few times with actual celebrities. Danny Trejo was one. He had some in modern Zombicide. That's the only one I can think of, generally off the top of my head, where they took the actual person and put them in, and not just one of their homages. But very cool. So what we got is, I'm going to drop her card off to the side, is we got Lacuna Coil. This is one of their CDs I have. It's an Italian band. There are 6 members on here because the band had changed since I had this CD. This is in 2010. I think they recently changed right before this campaign came out. Yeah, they're an Italian gothic metal band. Which I was super excited because, as you can see, I own their music. So, like, I actually knew about them. So when they're like, oh, they're putting Lacuna Coil in this set, I'm like, dude, that's awesome. And why would you say, would they pick this band versus whomever else? It's because C-Mine is an Italian company. And that's why. So it's probably there for like them. That's probably like, hey, this is one of our popular bands around here. For lots of Americans, they may have never heard of this band before, unless you're really into like metal or that, because they're not generally popping up on your local radio station. Again, depending on what station you listen to. So another cool thing about them is they are actually a female lead singer in a rock band, and it's becoming more and more prominent, but when they came out way back in the day, that wasn't a super common thing. Awesome. So we have Christina here to start with. She holds a power blast. Let's take a look at her miniature. There was also, during the campaign, a little mini comic book trying to kind of explain why they're in there, because again, they're not homage characters. It's just like they opened up some portal by accident during one of their concerts, and then they appeared here and they got all these magical abilities. Yeah, she becomes a mage, which is really fun. I really like this concept. So she has Spellcaster. So Spellcaster gets you a free action for a magic or enchantment action every turn. She has one free guard action, so she can kind of tell guards what to do for free. In orange, she has one free die for magic or one free magic action. In red, she has 1 free die for combat, 1 free combat action, or marksman. So marksman will let you use a ranged attack, whether it's a melee or whether it's a magic or a ranged attack. And you can freely choose your targets, and there's no friendly fire. So much like when you're doing melee attacks, you can choose the order. You don't have to attack, an abomination before you attack a necromancer. This lets you do that with marksman. So that's pretty cool. It lets you just cast spells into groups without having to worry about killing your teammates, which is really fun. So there's her full artwork. Awesome. Then her co-lead singer is Andrea, or I hope I'm saying that right. Yes, I love this. He has his knife out like he's gonna stab someone, but he's also kind of has it holding it like it's his microphone, which is really cool. So he can use a dagger. Take a look at his miniature. Plus, his costumes are really cool. I think they also designed them in a way like where they could potentially wear them on stage. And they made a brand new single that was featured in the opening video or the trailer for this Simon game. I don't remember the song off the top of my head. It was off an album I don't have yet, unfortunately, because it's, again, I'm in America, so it's not always easy to get bands from other countries' albums over here, especially now when CDs are harder to get. Alright, but we have, he has +1 die for melee and 1 free guard action as well. Again, kind of being the leader of the band. They're like co-singers. Definitely just to do that. So in orange, he has +1 die for melee, and he has taunt. I love the taunt ability. So taunt lets you choose a zombie, a zone with zombies in it within line of sight. All zombies in that zone get a free activation trying to get to you. So just to let them move a space. If they happen to be right next to you, they will attack you. But they ignore all other survivors and can leave their space without penalty. So it's a great way to like keep your team alive by pulling a group of zombies away from them, or setting up traps, like bringing a group of zombies into range of a melee attack or a ranged attack, or setting them up, grouping them together so you can drag them by or freeze them all at once and hit a bigger group. So definitely a fun ability. In red, we have +1 die for combat, 1 free melee action, or roll a 6 gets +1 die for melee. So he just wants to do a lot of melee damage, which definitely makes sense. Run up and stab you with his dagger. Alright, cool. Alright. Then we got Maki, who's one of the guitarists. So he has a great axe. So that's definitely awesome. Like, I love that they get the big giant guitar axe. The robe, very, very cool. Like, I don't know how on earth I would paint the white on there. Because I'm not that good of a painter, but that's not my issue right now. So he has taunt right off the bat, so that's pretty fun. He can give guards 2 damage for melee. So every time a guard does a melee attack, they have 2 damage instead. So this will help them take out brutes, as well as walkers and runners. In orange, 1 free melee action, or roll a 6 +1 damage for melee. In red, 1 free combat action, +1 die roll for melee, or escalation melee. Escalation melee just means every time he consecutively does a melee attack, he gets 1 extra die. So if his regular weapon he's using has 2 dice, he'll roll 2 dice for his attack. If he does another melee immediately after, he has 3 dice. If he does another one, he'll have 4 dice. If he does it, somehow gets his 4th action, he can go up to 5 dice. As long as you don't do any other action in between, which could be commanding guards, using the taunt action, moving, searching for items. As long as it has to be a melee. It doesn't even have to be the same weapon. You could have multiple melee weapons, so he could have attack all the zombies in your zone, and then, you killed them all, but then now you want to do a melee with a pole arm, and you want to hit the zone next to you. You could definitely do that. So very cool. Alright, there's the backside of his card. Alright, our 4th member is Didi, who is the other guitarist. Usually there's like a lead guitar and a I know don't sound like I don't know my music right now. Just like the lead guitar and the bass guitar. So he can use Disintegrate. So you look at his. So he has his guitar, but it's more like a battle axe or like a mace rather than a battle axe. But yeah, it looks like you got some more kind of magic or range stuff going on as well. I am, however, saddened because these guys were Kickstarter exclusive characters. They did not get a Massive Darkness crossover. That would have been awesome as well. So he started with Bloodlust Melee. Bloodlust, and you can give it to guards as well, which is really cool. So Bloodlust means you can spend 1 point to do a move action up to 2 spaces and get a free attack of it. So it combines your moving attack, but you have to move into a zone with zombies. But if you're planning on attacking anyhow, that's perfect. It just lets you combine the two, with the quote-unquote downside being you have to move into a zone with zombies. Yeah, giving guards the same thing is really neat. Because that way, if they're getting up on near where guards are, you can let them attack the entire zone. So if there's 3 guards there, you can have all 3 of them move to one zone and you attack all at the same time. So it can be very preemptive. They have 1 free combat action, and it is Lucky. Lucky lets you, during any of your actions, reroll all your dice once. For red, +1 die for combat, +1 free magic action, or +1 free melee action. So he wants to start definitely off as melee, but then it gives him the ability as he switches along with the combat stuff, and at the end, to decide do you want to switch over to melee or keep on melee, or do you want to switch to magic? So it gives them a little extra options there. Alright, let's flip to that side quick. Very cool. And our final member of the band is Richard. So he's the drummer, who also has a bow and arrow. So we needed a ranged character. So usually you get a magic character, a melee character, and a ranged character. And we got all them. But all of his drumsticks are flaming torches. Very Zombicide, because it picks the eye in Zombicide all the time. I am kind of glad, though, they didn't put a drum on the bottom. Would have been a little bit too much. But he has a warbow to start with. He has +1 die for range, and guards he can get +2 damage for ranged attacks. So between the members, you had all of them out. You'd have 1 guy that could give them melee and 1 guy that could give them range. So definitely let them all take out whatever they need to take out. Alright, then we have +1 free range action, damage 2 for ranged, so he can do his own damage at range. And then in red, 1 free combat action, max range +1, and Iron Rain. So of course, max range just gives him an additional range for any of his magic or ranged attacks. Iron Rain is a pretty fun one, so whenever you do a regular ranged attack, you get to roll dice equal to the number of zombies. So if your weapon, again, normally does 2 dice, and there are 5 zombies, you get to roll 5 dice instead. It just lets you do more damage the more zombies there are. So it's always really fun to do. Awesome. Okay, so that's all of our real people, I'm going to say, that aren't, again, the Japanese, Chinese, or Asian historical characters. I guess historical would be the probably most accurate way to say that. So now we're going to look at some characters who are based off of anime. Some of these are a little bit easier to determine. Some are kind of loosely based, but that's still fun. So the first one we're going to look at, is a lot of people might know, is Jiraiya. Here's the thing, is although I'm saying these are based off of anime, lots of anime characters are based off of real people or real lore. The only reason I put them in here is because these guys were loosely more based off the anime versions than they were off of the real person or folklore. So I'm sure there's a Jiraiya folklore character based off it, where the rest of the Asian characters, I literally, if I went and typed them up and looked them up online, they are actual, hey, this is this character, or this is this person from this dynasty this time, and not a fictional idea. Now, getting Jiraiya is pretty cool. If you watched all my other White Dust stuff, I mentioned, even though we have the Asian theme, I was glad we didn't get a bunch of ninjas and anime characters, which is what we're going to kind of look at right now. So I don't mind a few of them in there. I'm just glad we didn't get that's not what the entire set was. I love the fact we're getting more like warlords or army troopers versus just, yeah, a bunch of ninja and fantastical characters. But a couple here and there are really cool. So here's Jiraiya's miniature. So he is friggin' huge because he's has this giant toad. So this, of course, based more off Jiraiya from Naruto. So he has the giant toad sage. He has this known for his giant hair. Plus, he's reading his pervy novels. And then put some little like notes in there, but yeah, definitely cool. So as a comparison for him next to like a regular character, he is quite a bit bigger. Like his actual Jiraiya himself is the same size. But yeah, once you add in that giant toad, that's pretty cool. We don't often get lots of really big survivor characters, so it's pretty fun that we got one. Alright, so what is Jiraiya? He has a dagger. He starts with jump. Jump will let you spend an action to move up to two spaces, skipping the middle space. So this will let you get over groups of zombies or hop from maybe one into the middle of another group of zombies, or you can just jump up and down the battlements over like ramparts and ledges and stuff. Just a extra free movement ability. For the guards, he gives the guards push, which will let them push any zombies in their zone into the next space. So this needs to be helpful to keep the guards alive. They have a bunch of zombies got too close, they can shove them out to the next zone. Or if you're up on the battlement walkway, they can shove them off. In his orange, he has one free melee action or one free magic action. In red, +1 die for combat, +1 free combat action, and lucky. So, just kind of very general, like magic or action, and then you get the other one, you can pick combat. But he just kind of wants to hop into the battle and get going. Let's flip to the other side a little bit more on his picture there. I love that the frog is very colorful too. They could have just made like a green or a brown frog, but that's pretty fun. Alright, our next anime-inspired character is, and I'm trying not to butcher all his names. This is, Inugami. So this is based off of Inuyasha. So you kind of see as like the dog ears. Now, I did look this up. He's also a dog spirit in general. So, like, again, this is based off dog spirit folklore. But that's where Inuyasha came from as well. They took the dog spirit, they just gave him, like, a humanoid form. And a big, giant anime sword. So that's where we get him. Now, I don't know a lot about Inuyasha, so I can't speak too much more. Although I was kind of surprised they didn't give us Kagome, who is the, I think, the second main character of Inuyasha. That would have been kind of fun as well. But he just started the story. He has regeneration. This is one of the abilities that appears very rarely in this set. It says during each end phase, survivor's health is fully restored to its maximum. So as long as he does not die during his turn, he'll always have full health at the beginning of his next turn. So, if he starts with, I think it's 3 health you start with. So he could take 2 damage every single turn and then still live. So he's not too worried about being up in combat. For guards, it says +1 die roll to melee. So every time they do melee, they get an extra die roll. Just helps them do a little bit more damage. In orange, he has 1 free melee action or 1 free move action. In red, 1 free combat action, damage 2 for melee or escalation melee. So again, get to that, do you want to do a bunch of multiple attacks? You can potentially roll a lot of dice, or do you need to take out bigger threats? Just kind of depends on where you're going. Cool. So we'll kind of keep moving these along. So, this video's taking a while already, and we still have a lot of characters to go through, but as we read each ability, they'll fly a little bit quicker. And I'll try not to ramble as much. So here we have Midoriko. So she's also based off a character from Inuyasha. I do not know this one as well, so I've only seen a handful of episodes. So she can hold any enchantment, which is always fun. It'll hold any type of enchantment. So she's a little chibier character. got a chain with like a charm on it, which is very interesting. Yeah, so I first saw this and you're really like, this is very like cutesy anime. It doesn't really seem to fit the theme, but then you're like, it's based off a cartoon. That makes a little bit more sense. Alright, so then she starts to shove, which we briefly talked about. We talked about push for guards. Shove is the same thing, but it is for your regular player. You can shove any group of zombie into another zone as your survivor. And then guards can evade, which lets them move out of the zone of zombies without any penalty. So this is unlike Slippery, which lets them move through zombies without any penalty. This only gives them the ability to move away. So it's the opposite of their push ability. Push moves the zombies from one spot to the other. This just lets the guards move. So she gets Lucky and Spellcaster. So she'll help her with some of her magic stuff. And then 1 free combat action, 1 free enchantment action, or 1 free move action. So very cool. So remember though, a combat action is your melee, your ranged, or your magic. It is not enchantment. Enchantment is not a combat action. I'm almost positive. I'm gonna double check that before I sound too terribly stupid for just saying that. Yeah, it says any type of action. Combat, enchantment, guard, melee. Okay. I have to go look it up in the main part of the book. But yeah, I'm pretty sure combat is just the 2 of them. Or the 3 of them. So yeah, just seem every option. You might want to have her just casting enchantments on you. It should be really cool. Awesome. Because Spellcaster gives you magic or enchantment, which is why they have that separated there, other than just saying it's a magic action, because it's not the same thing. Alright, up next we have Ichiro. So, as far as I can tell from what I can look up, this is based off of the main character of Demon Slayer. Whose name I can't think of right now. Although, like some other people have said, this is kind of could be, in general, just about any single anime protagonist. This is very just generic anime, but I think the idea is supposed to be based off of, the main character of Demon Slayer. I know it starts with an I, but it's not Ichiro. It's not coming to me. And I'm not going to look it up right now. But he starts with Slippery. Slippery lets you move in and out of zones with zombies without paying any penalty. Normally, you have to spend 1 extra move point for every zombie. So if there's 1 zombie, you have to spend 2 actions to move. If there's 4 zombies, you probably wouldn't be able to move because you wouldn't have ever 5 points. But this lets him just get in and out without a problem. And that gives the guard the evade ability. For orange, +1 die roll for melee, or 1 free move action. In red, 1 free die for combat, 1 free combat action, or 1 free move action. So again, just kind of getting around the board, moving, doing some stuff there. We did not look at his miniature yet. I neglected to bring him out. So there is his. You got some neat armor on the sides there, a little scale armor. Love the action pose though. Alright, and then our next character is also supposed to be based off of Demon Slayer. They kind of dig like groups of 2 for these guys a little bit. I was surprised why we didn't get like a second Naruto character. Which I will argue we do got some characters in the Abominations that definitely could fit into the zombies that fit into like the Naruto theme, so they might have just called that good there. We have Kidomaru. Again, this could be a lot of different things based off some other different lore and stuff, but this is based off of one of the Demon Slayer characters as well, who wears the boar head usually, but he's usually known for brandishing 2 swords. And again, whose name I don't remember. I could look it up, but I don't want to right now. So yeah, definitely cool looking character, if nothing else. So he gets 1 free melee action. He can give the guards Bloodlust melee. So yeah, right off the bat, he can do extra melee attacks, which is cool. For orange, he has +1 guy for melee, and he has Swordmaster. So Swordmaster, I believe, lets him treat all swords as if they were dual-handed. Yeah, they're dual symbol. So any melee weapon, so you can pick up any melee weapon and treat it as a dual symbol. Always really a fun ability to have, because then as everyone upgrades, if nothing else, you could give them their basic weapons. He can wield both basic until you can find some other ones. Duplicates of some of the other better weapons, which is really cool. Then he has +1 die for combat, 1 for melee action, and taunt. Alright. Alright, so that's what we have for all of our Homage, our guest characters, and our anime characters. Now we're going to head into the animals. So this is one new thing they kind of brought into White Death, was the idea that there are animal people around. So we got some in the base set, we got some in Eternal Empires, but they only got a couple little bit here and there. So here we're going to get a bunch more. There is generally about 2 of each race, roughly. So we had the White Wolf in, I think, the base sets. Now we're getting another one to go with that. It's kind of neat, so you can kind of pair these guys off a little bit if you'd like to. So I did try and look up see if these are based off of anything. I couldn't find any specific things. So I think they're all just kind of like their own generic characters, but it's really cool that we're adding some of this into the game. I know there is at least one character in the Simon Comics Volume 2 that's also an anamorphic character. So yeah, really cool. So you have Serena Blackmantle. And I think this kind of fits very well with like the anime theme. Like, if you want to kind of get into that idea, like anime characters, like animal characters as well. So she's definitely a mage of some sort. But if you get the Kickstarter box set here, you'll have enough to play a full team of animal characters if you'd like to do that. Plus, then it'd be awesome again if they made these guys for crossovers with Massive Darkness, because I think that had some more in there as well. But here she has any enchantment she can hold. She starts with Spellcaster, gives the guards lucky. Just helps them be able to roll their dice better. +1 die for magic and lucky for herself. +1 die for magic, +2 damage for magic, and freeze magic. So every time she casts magic at the end, she can do extra damage, or she can freeze an area. So very cool there. Alright. Our next one up is Korokage Maru. Suzuki Maru, just meaning like B-sides, but I had Kiddo Maru. So these are the Panthers. So we have some Panther guys going on. So they do have animal characters. They're almost all forest or wilderness animals, like hunter prey stuff, because like we have like foxes and panthers and tigers and stuff, or kind of like that thing. We're not getting like at least as of right now, like we're not getting like giant elephant creatures, which does make sense. We had other elephants like Abomination and stuff. Again, if you're looking into like Massive Darkness specifically, you get stuff like that which crosses over. Yeah, we didn't get like, we have Jiraiya, but we didn't get a toad creature. We didn't get like turtles and stuff. But that's always something maybe they could pick up in like the next set, like do a smaller expansion for this White Death, just ties in with some more animal characters. Would be kind of fun. So Kurokage Maru has damage 2 for melee. So right off the bat, their melee does 2 damage, so they can take out a lot of stuff. And then give that to the guards. In orange, 1 free melee action, or +1 die roll for melee. In red, 1 free melee action, hit and run, or they roll a 6 to get +1 damage for melee. So just a lot of melee stuff in there. Hit and run, which I haven't talked about yet, says anytime they destroy at least one zombie, they get a free move action with no penalties. So if they didn't finish off all the zombies, they can run away and get away so they don't have to worry about getting hit on that turn. Or if they happen to finish off even the last zombie, they can move to the next group. Even if they don't finish off one, they could do like one attack, kill one zombie, move to the next group, attack in there, kill one zombie, move to the next group, and possibly just use a couple of quick attacks to just like be running through the groups of zombies, taking out at least one every time, and then getting through giant crowds of zombies. So it'd be kind of a fun thing to do. Cool. To go with this Panther character, we have our next one, which is Haya. She's an archer with a cool crossbow. And I said before, I loved about these animal characters in previous videos is they gave them all like full clothing and armor and everything else, like they were just a regular group of people doing stuff. Top of that crossbow is pretty cool too. And not like, oh, they're running around as half-naked animals in loincloths and stuff. So I think they kind of gave them a little bit of respect in that sense. I just gotta move some of these cards out of the way. Alright, so she just hold a crossbow if you get one. Otherwise, she has +1 die for combat, or she can give 2 damage for ranged attacks on the guards. So it definitely helps out guards right away. In orange, she has +1 die for range or 1 free move action. Move actions are nice, help you get a little bit better ranged positioning. And then for red, 1 free combat action, +1 max range or marksman. So we saw those before. Cool. Alright, so let's take a look at some foxes. So foxes are very important in lots of lore for Asian cultures. So we have Sarna Farsight. So she gets to have a bow with another archer character. There's their miniature. We want to focus back up. Love some of these action shots. It looks like she just fired an arrow. Plus, I like these big quivers they always carry when they carry them on their sides, which makes generally a lot more sense than carrying them up on their shoulders. Which is how you always normally see archers carrying stuff. It's like it's like I have to grab these out and just pull them out and throw them in the pile rather than having to I have this big giant extra weight on my back while I'm trying to aim my bow. So it kind of makes a little bit more sense, I guess, but I don't know archery that well. So +1 max range, so right off the bat, her or the guards can shoot extra far, which can be very helpful, especially early on, right? They'll take guys out one space before they can get one extra space. In orange has 1 free ranged action, and then she has Brother in Arms, or BIA, free combat action. So Brothers in Arms is a really cool mechanic. As long as she is in the same zone as any other survivor, everyone in that zone gains the action. So everyone will have 1 free combat action. So she's just hanging out in the back with a spellcaster, or waiting around you're waiting for guys to get close. She could be somewhere with a mage or a melee character, maybe just give them a quick bow for the minute. You can always sit there and shoot, or again, if she gets up close, she can help with melee combat. Or she could be shooting guys at range while the melee guys taking out guys in their zone. The only downside is if you're by yourself, the ability turns off. You always have to have at least one other survivor. Alright, so for reg, 1 damage for range, or +1 to dice roll for range, or roll a 6 +1 die for range. So very cool. So it's extra damage, which is always helpful, or extra dice, which gives you option to do more damage, hit more guys, or the extra +1 to a die if you get a range. If you roll a 6, you get to roll extra dice. Which you might be like, what's the difference between these two? So if you normally roll in 2 dice, this would get you 3 dice. Normally rolling 2 dice, If you don't get any 6s, you only have 2 guys. But if you roll 2 6s, now you have 4 guys. Even if you roll 2 6s and you roll 1 6 and you get a third dice, and you roll a 6 on that, and you get another dice. So as long as you keep getting 6s, you could definitely infinitely keep going. Just kind of like a guaranteed 1 dice or potentially more dice. Might depend on how many you're rolling. You only have 1 die in your attack, probably just get the +1. If you're rolling like 4 dice, might be worth trying to risk getting a 6 here to get that 5th dice. So very cool. There's a backside of her card. Alright, then up next we have Rengart. So now Rengart the Fox has a lot of context and lore, folklore a lot. Sometimes I've seen Renard, like the Trickster Fox as well. So there are some references to these characters in lore, just not enough where I could, except for this one, I could really just focus down on what they were. But yeah, we got a mage character, really cool. I always love more mages. Love that they all have different stabs or different style bows, and stuff like that. I think that's the one downside you kind of start getting with like modern Zombicide. And they could have easily gotten into some of this game as well. Where modern, you get people having guns. It's like, okay, you only give so many people different types of guns before they all start to look alike, because you don't have shotguns or pistols look so different. Where here you can have swords look so different, pole arms look different, bows look different. In the same way, when you start getting to some of that melee weapons too, you can have different axes and different things there. I know the biggest issue on Zombicide was Western. Because again, even when now you're even like time period Western, so you can't even give them like fantastical things. So yeah, only so many guys can have different types of like period swords or things like that. Anywho, Renard can hold a power blast. She also has slippery and gives the guards evade. It could be a he actually. I'm sorry. +1 die roll for magic and spellcaster. For reg, 1 free move action. Roll a 6 +1 damage for magic, or roll a 6 +1 die to magic. So more damage, or do you need more dice? Hit harder or hit more. Just the difference there. Very cool. Alright, then our next Fox character is Algahara Steelsworn. Has a dagger. Has a dagger holding it, but she's holding a dagger in her front pouch there, right in the front. But then also has a cool halberd, which is of course the new polearm mechanic, which we haven't really looked at too much. But polearms are melee attacks that attack at 1 range. So instead of attacking your same space, you attack 1 space away, which is really fun. But they can't attack in your own space typically. So they kind of serve as that like mid spot between a ranged attack and a melee attack. Alright, so they start with slippery again. Should all 3 of these guys have slippery? No, just the 2 of them. I said it's actually going to be, might just be kind of like a Fox thing, which would make sense. Alright, then we have evade as well, so we have +1 action, +1 melee action, and jump. For reg, +1 damage for melee, 1 free move action, or +1 die roll for melee. So very simple. Again, we kind of fly through some of these because we've already read them all. Alright, then we have a panda bear. Very Asian, of course. We have Jai K. Can hold an enchantment. So I know someone might be like, oh, this is probably supposed to be Po from Kung Fu Panda, and you could definitely say that. I can't argue with you at all. But again, pandas are Asian animals, so, and, why wouldn't you have one then? Like, all of a sudden we had a crocodile character. I might be like, are there a lot of crocodiles in the middle of Asia? There might be. I don't but it's not generally associated with it. So he starts with a lucky, gives out push to guards. In orange, +1 die roll for melee, and he has jump. In red, +1 free combat action, Bloodlust combat, and spellcaster. So Bloodlust combat's really fun because Bloodlust again lets you get the move 2 spaces and attack. But now since it's combat, you can do that with ranged attack or melee attack. It doesn't matter. The only thing I don't like about that as just a general ability is because it says you have to move into a space. In one action, they move up to 2 zones to a zone containing at least 1 zombie to get 1 free action of a specified type. So it's the only thing I don't like, because if it's melee, makes 100% sense. But if you're moving into a zone with a zombie and you have a ranged, unless you have a ranged weapon that can attack at 0 space, you have to then attack with melee, which you might not. You might hopefully have also a decent melee weapon as well. But the idea is like, but that's not what it says, though. It says Bloodlust range. So that means I get into a space, I don't get to attack with a melee, I have to jump into a space with a zombie, and then range to the next zone. Same thing would be with the polearm. You could get there, it is melee, but you have to attack the next zone. I do wish the ability works just slightly different, so you can move up to 2 zones to a space where you could attack would make more sense. Because then you could get yourself within range to attack. But it's what it is. Alright. So there's that guy. Alright, so our next one, we have another bear, but now we're getting more like brown bears. So we have Artemia, who can have a dagger. It's also interesting that we're getting a lot of female characters that are animals. Because I think the male, female, and the rest of the set is kind of unbalanced. But that, you're not trying to be whatever about it, but it does make at least a little bit historical sense, because usually historically, your more prominent characters, especially army characters, were male characters. I mean, obviously, there's some really good female ones as well. But yeah, there's a lot of that. So they kind of think they picked up the slack a little bit with the animal characters. So she started with Ironhide. So Ironhide gets you an additional auto defense armor roll of 5. So they always have an armor roll of at least 5 or 6 to prevent the damage. If they have armor on, though, they did add 1 to the result of the dice. So if they had an armor that was already 5 and they roll a die, they just add 1, so there's a better chance of surviving. They can give the guards marksman, which I think that's really fun, especially if you get the crossbolt, the crossbolt pack with the crossfire pack with the ranged guards. Otherwise, we have 1 free move action, damage 2 for melee. In red, 1 free combat action, +1 die roll for melee, and Barbarian. So Barbarian is like Iron Brain, except it's for melee attacks. So you get to roll dice equal to the number of zombies in the zone. Awesome. Alright, our next character is another bear. Holnvar. So he's a mage bear. And they didn't make these bears like super big and bulky either, which is very interesting. Bears look like that when they're crouched over. Can you see a bear stand up? They don't look nearly as fat and bulky as they did when they were crouched over. But yeah, so this guy's a cool mage. Just a lot of extra furs on him. How do animal characters feel about wearing furs? There's the question of the day, right? Maybe it's the furs of their enemies, though. So he can hold an ice storm. So it's +1 die for magic and gives the guards push. In orange, roll a 6, get +1 damage for magic or spellcaster. In red, 1 free magic action, +1 die roll for magic or spellbook. So I haven't seen spellbook yet. So spellbook lets you treat all magic and enchantment cards in your backpack as if they're in your hand. This just gives you access to everything at once, so you can cast what you need when you need it rather than having to spend time rearranging your inventory. Plus, it lets you dual wield spells or enchantments just from your backpack. So you can have one in your hand or have two of them in your backpack, which is really cool. Alright, we're going to go our last three characters. So we got some monkeys. I think monkeys feel very Asian too, but different types of monkeys, which I think is cool. So it just looks like maybe a baboon. So we have Midi, who's a horned bow. So we got a ranged monkey. I love the shouting thing. Again, they could have just as easily had all of these guys been half naked, maybe like a hat on, maybe like a robe, or like just a robe or like a sash or something, but instead they're like treating them like regular characters just with animal features. It would have been awesome though if they would have had maybe like an animal keyword or something that went with it. Maybe instead of guard, give them all some other special ability. You can hold the horn bow. It says hit and run, and guards get +1 max range. In orange, one free range action and point blank. So point blank we haven't seen yet either. This lets you perform magic and ranged attacks in the zone no matter the minimum range of their weapon. So friendly fire is ignored. So basically, this turns all your ranged attacks into melee attacks. So that's really fun, because in that way you can get right up in the middle of combat and still shoot your bows, which sometimes have a little bit better damage or power because they have more of a chance of missing. In red, one free combat action, one free move action, and damage 2 for ranged. So if you get point blank and damage 2 for ranged, you can just run in with hit and run, be taking guys out left and right at melee range. This is kind of interesting. Awesome. Alright, our next monkey man is Kotaha. So he's got a spear or a polearm of types. Got a little sword and shield and stuff on him too, but he's ready to throw down from a distance. It looks like he's probably just a standard, standard monkey. I don't know the different types of monkeys, I guess, now that I think about it. But he may hold a combat shield, which we haven't seen yet in this set. He starts with taunt, gives guards lucky. In orange, one free move action, roll 6 +1 damage for melee. In red, one free combat action, escalation, melee, and jump. So you never see a lot of the same abilities over and over. There's only so many you can have. Especially again, you're kind of theming these characters, so it kind of makes sense to have the same thing. Our final character is one that kind of crosses over between the folklore culture of Asian mythology and animals, because it's Sun Wukong. So a lot of people know the reference of this character. Journey to the West is the big storyline, which is what Dragon Ball Z was based off of, like Goku is based off of this. Plus, there's also the new Sun Wukong, I think, anime series coming out, or is out. So yeah, he's a magical, mythical monkey. Do a lot of different stuff. There's a lot of other things based on him. But yeah, so I kind of want to save him for last. So he may hold any pole arm. Now, this would have been a character I would have, for anime-wise, or not anime-wise, for the game-wise, they should have given an extra equipment to, and he should have started with a special power pole that he usually carries here, but that's right. So they get a little bit more fantastical with him. He's got like his Nimbus cloud that he flies around on. Again, very Dragon Ball Z reference. No, I shouldn't say it's the other way around. Dragon Ball Z references this versus the other way. So he has Sprint. So I don't think we've actually seen Sprint yet in this game. It lets him move up to 3 zones for 1 move action. Yeah, spend 1 move action, may up to 2 or 3 zones instead of 1, but they still have to follow any rules about paying for stuff to move with zombies. Gives guards evade. So in orange, 1 free move action or jump. In red, 1 free combat action, lucky, and super strength. So super strength immediately changes all his values to 3. So now he can take out abominations with any attack. So very cool. It's the only guy we've seen so far that has that in this set. And there is his full picture. Alright, that's what we have for Frozen Fortress for this video. Come back, check out the rest, see the other cool culture stuff. See you guys there. Bye.